Northgard sucks, and here's why. So, now that we've gotten everyone to go ahead and just dislike the video and go away from it, and everyone that's here still interested in it, thank you for sticking around. The actual focus of this video isn't really just to tell you how bad or terrible Northgard is, it's more just to kind of point out aspects and warning signs that have really kind of just shied me away from the game. So we'll be going over about 4.5, 5-ish topics, and then we'll be just kind of dissecting each of those in their own little sections. So one quick thing that I also want to do before we really kind of dive into this video is I feel like I should kind of identify myself as, I feel like it's important so that I have some credibility from where I stand before I go in and start kind of just talking about a game that, you know, talking about it in a way that makes people uncomfortable. No one really likes to hear their game be told, essentially, that there are a couple issues with it. So real quick, my name is Ghost. I was at one point head admin for the Northgard, or the Northgard Discord. I am still the head admin for the Reddit, and I am still the event organizer for Northgard. But the problem is, of course, there are never any events, and we'll actually talk about that later in the episode. I have made multiple videos in the past talking about the balance, the lore, and the discussion. I've also made a couple kind of joke videos about the hitboxes, and I'll kind of just let you guys sample those here in just a quick second. Please feel free to give me your thoughts and your comments down below, of course. I don't want this video to be kind of like a hate or a Northgard sucks, it's a terrible game video. This is more just to kind of let people talk about a game that I feel like there has been discussion about, but it really hasn't been constructive, if you will. So please, let me know what you think down below. And of course, thank you for watching.
Sector is clear. Not clear! Not clear!
Gameplay length, and what I think the devs might want to consider with the almost promise that multiplayer is going to be released incredibly soon. To start off, I just wanted to show a little time spectrum of other games to help get a feel of what the RTS genre has released. For starters, StarCraft. It's always been a cornerstone when it comes to the RTS games. The first part that I want to bring up is length, and in the original video that I talked about with a competitive RTS scene or a 4X game, I had mentioned that the original, a good and solid, quality game length for an RTS is between 20 to 45 minutes, and really I was absolutely incorrect with this. What really needs to matter is more about, is the time that you were allowing for certain parts of the game justified? And what I mean by this is, how long is your early game? How long is your mid game? How long is your late game? And does all of this kind of justify itself in the entire length of your game? So one thing that I want to go over with you guys real quick as well is the idea of the early, mid, and late game. And the reason for this is, as you can see on the screen, I'm also transitioning over to what I could find was basically the fastest 6 pool on YouTube, and of course I'll be putting the link down below. But the reason for this is I want to talk about the early, mid, and late game, and StarCraft, at least for me, is a game that kind of brings that to the forefront. So real quick, we'll figure out how, which of the 3 that obviously the player on screen is in. First question. Does this player currently only have workers? Yes, he's currently in the early game. The second question is, do they only have workers and some military units? And as you can see, this player is about to start 6-pulling his opponent. So yes, this player is going to be trying to rush into the mid game to try and beat his opponent in the early game. And of course, the obvious question, do they have workers, military, and super units? No, neither player obviously has this right now, and that's why we're seeing this player rush for the mid game. Essentially, what this player is doing is he is throwing a gamble or a risk. He is saying, I can beat you with the units that are on screen right now, and that's it. I do not need any super late game gimmicks or any fight like that. I can beat you with what I have now. But of course there's an inherent sacrifice to this, because the units that he is producing are not workers, are not things that are going to help his economy get to that mid and late game. So there is an inherent sacrifice that this player is putting forth. Now when you compare this though to Northgard, Northgard kind of varies in the sense that when a player goes for, as many players used to call them, the rush meta, it doesn't exist. There is no inherent sacrifice that a player is putting in to go and try and kill his opponent as early as possible, because it's just the most efficient way to do it. And at least when, again, we're talking about that game length and game substance, there is no inherent substance between the early, mid, and late game. They kind of all just blend into one. When I talk about a Northgard timings and everything, I don't really use the phrases of the 801, 802, 803. Usually we'll call the late game 804 plus. I'll usually use the terms the first death ball and then the second death ball, because that's normally how you'll see a lot of games devolve into. There isn't really, oh well, you know, you need to make sure that you get your special units so that you can counter your other units, so that your team can counter their units that are countering your units. It's all just, I've got a bunch of warriors, my buddy has a bunch of axe throwers, my other buddy has a bunch of shield bearers, we all got military strength, and we're gonna just push them. There is no builds or inherent strategy that come to each of the timings, and because there aren't really any builds or creative styles, if you will, there is no inherent early, mid, or late game. It's all just one big blob of units that are going out and trying to murder each other. And this is why I feel like Northgard really doesn't have those early, mid, or late games. It's just kind of two giant army blobs trying to basically smack into each other, and then hopes that one army blob has a less of an attrition problem than the other team. But this is kind of what leads us into our second point about the combat mechanics and the combat system. The second part that I want to talk about is combat, and some just kind of different aspects that I've noticed in this game that are still very kind of consistent from when I started back in the early alpha and early beta stages of this game to still today. The first is that a lot of the combat is still just a circle slaughter. So what I mean by that is when a group of units kind of just march onto a tile, there really isn't much micro incentive. I kind of just let them run in. I'll kind of look at their health bars, and every once in a while I might try and pull a warrior or two away from the giant circle fight that is going on in the middle or in the kind of one part of the map. There really isn't much kind of thought process when you compare it to some of the other games that allow you to do this, like Warcraft or Starcraft, where the unit control and the unit micro is very, very, very important. What I want to do next is basically just do a quick compare and contrast between some other well-known RTS games and just kind of see how Northgard stacks up. And then at the end, what I'm also going to do is show a quick clip of Northgard's combat and just kind of let you guys see the difference, really.
Production for now just wants more lings, and he's keeping them at the top of the ramp. They all have speed right now, so he's going to build them up. And here we go. He's going to try to go for the surround. Ooh. Nice grenade so far. This is beautiful.
Beyond's micro, just insane. These grenades. I have never seen grenades this good.
I don't think he lost a single Reaper.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't.
What?
Dude, that was the best grenades. Like, he really...
I've never seen anyone do it quite like that.
Yeah, like he...
Research finished. Your building is complete.
Please don't lose your war chief.
No, dude, it's okay. He's gonna he's got the calculator out. He's like planning every single step that this war chief is taking. He's a Norse god. You think he makes such like petty mistakes? So the next clip I want to get to here, which is an actual combat clip of Northgard and not just a meme bit, is a match between Only Rex and Exasper, both two very skilled players in Northgard. So I want to use this as an example. The reason that I wanted to use this clip specifically is if you take a look at the time here, it's 8:02, which is typically when you'll see the quote-unquote rush meta in full effect. And as you can see here, you do see Rex using the Wolf Clan as aggressively as possible. The thing though, and this is why I kind of say that the rush aspect of Northgard doesn't exactly exist, is because take a look at his economy. It's not like he's actually that far behind or even really hemorrhaging anything. His food is fine, his wood is fine, his gold is fine, and yeah, there was an earthquake and so some of his stuff is on fire, but he really isn't actually losing anything by going out and being this aggressive. Now he does have the away from home debuff, but again, when you have a war chief that can smack the absolute crap out of your opponent, there's no real detriment, and especially if you're teching yourself, especially with the new options for the Conqueror and those three options, you still have the rush meta. It still exists. It's still a good option.
You serious?
So the third point that I want to bring up is about Shrio Games themselves as a company. Now I want to put a giant, massive asterisk on this when I bring this up, because this isn't I don't want this to be directed or targeting anyone in the development team. I actually want to give a big shout out to Brioche and some of the other kind of developers that I have talked to, because honestly they're one of the biggest reasons that I'm still in this game, and that's why I'm still holding out for some of the things that they release, because their openness and honesty and a lot of their quick responses to how the community has brought up things is one of the reasons that I still have stayed with Northgard. Again, I want to bring this up. I don't have any gripes about the combat itself. How the game plays and how it flows is perfectly fine. You know, every game is, I guess, good in its own right as long as everything be justified. Let me just kind of give you a hypothetical here, because I'm actually a Planetary Annihilation player, or I was actually a big Uber Entertainment fanboy just a couple months ago, but what has been going on here in the community and Shrio Games, the staffing option or the staffing direction that they have chosen has just been eerily mirroring what I've experienced before. So let me hit you with this. So first off the bat, the Shrio Games and Uber Entertainment came out with an amazing first game. For Uber Entertainment, it was actually Saturday Night Fight Bowl or something like that. Game was a big success, everything went well. The second game they came out with, and this is where Shrio Games steps in as well. You have Northgard for Shrio Games, you have Planetary Annihilation for Uber Entertainment. Both games very successful in their own rights, Uber Entertainment being one of the very first games to be kickstarted and have such a warm and receptive welcome. Over time, as many games naturally do, finances become the kind of key part on how the company handles the game. And to answer this problem, Uber Entertainment came up with another game. Uber Entertainment, their option was to go and create a new game called Human Resources. Sounds kind of familiar, right? Now, what happened was the community reacted very negatively to this because it felt like the company, Uber Entertainment, was actually stepping away from Planetary Annihilation. Of course, the developers promised and said, no, we aren't ever going to do that. We love this game too much, and we are actually going to be keeping part of the team responsible for updating and maintaining Planetary Annihilation. Uber Entertainment's idea of how they would tackle two games at once was actually quite brilliant. They would only take a few people from the original Planetary Annihilation team to get started on working on the Human Resources project, so that way there isn't a massive change from everyone's working on Planetary Annihilation or PA to nobody's working on PA. And this to them was the best idea on how they could balance both working on a new game while still supporting and maintaining their current growing game. In the end, Uber Entertainment wasn't able to actually uphold the financial challenges between both Human Resources and Planetary Annihilation, and because of this, the company itself eventually stepped away from both projects. My concern is that Shrio Games will also inevitably be doing the same. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that this will happen to Shrio Games, and I really hope it doesn't. From what they have, their options and their choices that they have decided to go with, it sounds very, very, very familiar. The fourth thing I wanted to talk about for my apprehension as an old gamer for Northgard is the community itself and my take on how the community is feeling with the current environment of Northgard. And from what I've gathered, the community is nervous, to say the least, really. I've talked to old gamers like myself, some of the newer players, some of the old streamers, the ex-streamers, and some of the newer streamers, and all of their take on it. And from what I've gathered, it's not pessimistic, but it's not optimistic. It's a lot like the Steam reviews. It's kind of mixed. It's kind of like lukewarm. Everyone's kind of hoping that Northgard will go in the right direction, but there's no real. This to me is kind of a very strong connection to how Shrio Games has handled the new release of the information. And again, I also know that a lot of this is old and past news, and I'm very late on this, but it's because I wanted to make sure that all of this was very well presented and well, organized. And how Shrio Games has handled not addressing or mentioning the new game being leaked, it has me worried, to say the least. Because from the get-go, Shrio Games has always been a very open and honest, clear and concise, the whole 9 yards. They've been a very proactive company when it came to letting the community know what was going on. And when it came to talking about a new game possibly in the works, I can completely understand being very apprehensive about talking about a new game in a community, but it had to be done eventually. And with a news organization taking that information and actually leaking it to the community, in my opinion, I know it was a damned if you do, damned if you don't, but by not taking that action, a lot of assumptions have already been made, and I think you can also see that just through the Steam charts and how the community has handled it. It's been clear that the only time that there's been significant growth is through the sales, but a lot of that retention has just faded. And the biggest thing that I have also against this is, if this was something that was in the making, how long? When was it kind of conceptualized and when was it planned? And for how long were they planning to keep us out of the dark as a community? It's how long has Shrio Games had a hidden agenda that we haven't known about, and why hasn't it been brought up, It's those kind of things that really get me nervous when, as both ex-head admin of the Discord, head admin of the Reddit, and just kind of general video game connoisseur, if you will, seeing them go from this image of a very open and welcome company to, it just sounds sketchy. It's very gray area. It's not, what they're doing isn't illegal or wrong. It's not like I can say, well, you can't make other video games, you have to stick with what you have. But to do that to us is very, I don't know, it's very mixed. As I've mentioned before, it's very concerning. This last section that I wanted to bring up and address is more what I think has also significantly contributed. And the biggest and final gripe that I have, and something that, at least when I was talking to other people, they kind of made reference to, why isn't this a thing yet? It's a spectator mode. This seems like such a weird thing to talk about, especially in an era where basically every game since literally Red Alert 1 has had a way that players can look upon other players to watch their games and or watch them compete. Northgard doesn't have that. Northgard has been said by some of the developers that it's a work in progress, and then it'd be left at that. What I'd like to do is just take a quick second to just kind of show a couple examples as to why it is so important that a game has either a built-in function for players to be able to watch other people, or just some way that maybe through like a mod or something that there can be a spectator mode.
Against G2.
Paid off. Buddy getting taken down, but again, it's Pit, the last man standing here. Jumping P250, can't expect much to be done. Ooh, if he can get second kill, that's the bomb as well. And now he's got position here. Needs to get some light taps and Pit. Are you serious? What is that?
Some value here, but here comes Rogue coming in, grabbing a couple of these Tempests, abducting them into his army and killing them off in seconds.
Excellent harpooning here, taking out a good amount of that ground army. Of course, with those spores over there, they can take out all those air units. And huge play, 34 workers killed off, making our worker count 30 to 71. Rogue really starting to seize this game.
Rogue making it look easy. Classic has played fantastically, but these moves from Rogue are so difficult to fight against.
He decided, well, once again, just be Hiko. Is he about to pull off the Alamo? He's got 3 from behind quad. Can he find a 4th? He gets the 4th. He's on for the ace, and he gets it! What?
This is gonna, I mean, right now, Taskbot will come in and kill off his base, but the problem with that is, does he lose his commander in time? Does the commander realize what's going on? There are a few docks here, so he might be able to stave it off. Oh, the boombots! Do they get seen? They do! They get seen by the metal extractor. Now, does Taskbot respond? Does he see them in time? The boombots are moving in. Does his commander realize he needs to fire the Uber immediately? The boombots moving in! Boom goes the command! Oh my god, 1%! Mom, get the camera! Oh my goodness! The fabric, oh my goodness! Taskbot's commander surviving with 1%! He lives! He lives! Oh my goodness! He lives! That is a very happy commander.
The last thing are just 2 bugs that I found while I was playing, and that I've just kind of been slowly gathering from different streamers and myself. So obviously their links and their information will be down below. But the first one is actually, if you look at the top left of the video that's going on right now, you'll notice that you have all of the clans, and then you have 2 of the neutral creep names. But if you notice, there's a third, like, half-eaten smiley face that's still there. That's actually the Jotnar. They are on the map. If you actually look at the mini-map, there are 3 neutral creep tiles that have already been taken by them. But their name has been kind of clipped out, if you will, because the game doesn't recognize, I guess, that many names in or on Northgard. So it's just one of those things that it's kind of weird that the development team didn't think to kind of take care of this. It seems like one of those obvious, well, at some point, someone like me who really enjoys large team battles would try and do like a 4v4, and eventually at some point all 3 neutral camps would probably spawn on there. So it's just a little bit weird that a release that was so important to Shrio games would have such a glaring flaw. Now this last one is just something that I've been kind of gathering from my videos and just a few other streamers that have kind of posted their clips, or their Twitch clips, excuse me, online. And here's just a quick little kind of compilation. They sort of explain themselves, really.
Was I the only one who just saw those?
Oh yeah, look here. That's the thing that I'm talking about.
Oh, what the what is...
Do you like it?
Look at this thing! Norse magic, that's all I gotta say, dude. Norse magic.
No, it's too bad. It's going the right way. It should go the other way around.
I believe that's everything that I really wanted to bring up in this video. Thank you to everyone that was here for the entirety of it. I know that this was probably just an absolute nightmare to try and sit through. But thank you again for just kind of bearing with me as I just got my thoughts across. Also, what is this run animation for the drow? Come on. Come on. With that, I hope you guys have a good day, good afternoon, good night. I'll see all of you guys later for the next episode. Thank you and have a great night. Day, evening thing. Bye-bye.